Marcus Chen had never expected his life as a cargo pilot to lead him into the throne room of an alien queen, but here he was, standing before the most magnificent and terrifying creature he had ever seen. The Zephyrian queen towered nearly 8 feet tall, her crystalline blue skin shimmering under the bioluminescent lights of her chamber. 6 arms moved gracefully as she paced, each one ending in delicate fingers that could probably crush his skull without effort. Her face was angular yet beautiful, with large golden eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries. Flowing silver hair cascaded down her back like liquid metal, and intricate patterns of darker blue traced elegant lines across her skin. But it wasn't the queen's imposing presence that had brought Marcus here. It was the sound that filled the vast chamber, a heartbreaking wail that seemed to shake the very walls of the ship. In her upper arms, the queen held a small creature that could only be her child. The baby Zephyrian was about the size of a human infant, but already showed the distinctive features of its race: the crystalline skin, the multiple arms, the large expressive eyes. And it was crying with a sound that Marcus felt in his bones. "Human," the queen spoke, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, but edged with exhaustion and frustration. "Your species claims to understand all life forms. Tell me why my child suffers so." Marcus had been brought here after his cargo ship was intercepted by the Zephyrian fleet. They hadn't attacked. The Zephyrians were known for their peaceful nature, but they had demanded he come aboard their flagship. Now he understood why. The baby's cries grew louder, and Marcus watched as the queen's composure began to crack. Her golden eyes glistened with what he could only assume were tears, though they sparkled like liquid starlight. She had tried everything her people knew, consulted with their best healers, but nothing worked. In desperation, she had reached out to other species, hoping someone might have an answer. "Your Majesty," Marcus said carefully, bowing his head in respect. "I'm not a doctor or a child expert. I'm just a pilot." "Perhaps," she replied, her voice breaking slightly. "But your species has a reputation for finding solutions where others see only problems. Please, human." "My child has not slept in days. Neither have I." Marcus looked at the baby, studying its movements, its cries. There was something familiar about it, something that reminded him of his nephew back on Earth. Tommy had been a difficult baby too, crying constantly until Marcus's sister discovered the solution. "May I?" Marcus asked, extending his hands slightly. The queen hesitated, her protective instincts warring with her desperation. Finally, she nodded and carefully transferred the baby to Marcus's arms. The moment Marcus held the child, he felt its distress. The baby was small but surprisingly strong, its 4 arms flailing as it continued to wail. Marcus began to rock gently, the way he had learned with Tommy, but the crying continued. Then Marcus noticed something. The baby's movements weren't random. They were rhythmic, almost like it was trying to communicate. He thought back to what he knew about Zephyrian physiology from his pilot's training. They were an empathic species, highly sensitive to emotions and vibrations. "Your ship," Marcus said suddenly. "How long have you been traveling?" 3 planetary cycles, the queen replied, confused by the apparent change of subject. "And before that? Where were you?" "Our home world, Zephyr Prime. But I don't understand what this has to do with—" "The gravitational frequency," Marcus interrupted excitedly. "Zephyr Prime has a unique gravitational pulse, doesn't it? I remember reading about it in the navigation charts." The queen's eyes widened. "Yes, but how could you know that affects—" Marcus was already moving, adjusting his rocking motion. Instead of the gentle back and forth he had been doing, he began to move in a specific pattern, a subtle up and down motion combined with a slight rotation. He was trying to mimic the gravitational rhythm of Zephyr Prime, the pulse the baby would have felt in the womb and during its early days of life. The change was immediate. The baby's cries began to soften, its flailing arms settling into a more relaxed position. Within minutes, the wailing had become soft whimpers, and then, miraculously, silence. The throne room fell completely quiet except for the gentle hum of the ship's engines. Marcus continued the rhythmic motion, feeling the baby relax completely in his arms. Soon, tiny snores emerged from the small creature. The queen stared in amazement, her 6 arms trembling with emotion. How could you possibly know?" "Lucky guess," Marcus said softly, not wanting to wake the baby. "Human babies sometimes need specific motions to feel safe. I figured maybe Zephyrian babies weren't so different." Tears now flowed freely down the queen's face, leaving trails of silver on her blue skin. "You have given me back my child's peace. You have given me back my sanity." Marcus carefully transferred the sleeping baby back to its mother, who received the child with infinite tenderness. She gazed down at her sleeping offspring with such pure love that Marcus felt his own eyes mist up. "I am Queen Lorelei of the Zephyrian sovereignty," she said formally. "And you, human, have done something no one else could do. You have quieted my baby, and in doing so—" She paused, looking directly into his eyes. "You have begun to win my heart." The words hung in the air between them. Heavy with meaning, Marcus wasn't sure he understood. He was just a cargo pilot from Earth, and she was the ruler of one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. "Your Majesty, I just helped with a crying baby. Any parent would have done the same." "No," she said firmly. "My advisors, my healers, my scientists, they all offered complex solutions involving technology and medicine. You offered understanding. You looked at my child not as an alien creature to be studied, but as a baby who needed comfort." The queen moved closer, and Marcus caught her scent, like ozone and night-blooming jasmine. "What is your name, pilot?" "Marcus Chen, Your Majesty." "Marcus Chen," she repeated, and somehow his ordinary name sounded musical when she said it. "You will stay as my guest while we determine how to properly thank you for this gift." "That's really not necessary." "It is decided," the queen said with gentle authority. "Captain Thorne will see to your needs." A tall Zephyrian officer stepped forward and bowed to Marcus. "It would be my honor to serve you, Master Chen." As Marcus was escorted to what turned out to be luxurious quarters, he couldn't stop thinking about the queen's words. The way she had looked at him when she said he was winning her heart. It had to be some kind of cultural expression he didn't understand. There was no way the ruler of an entire civilization could be interested in a simple human cargo pilot. But as he settled into the incredibly comfortable bed that night, listening to the gentle hum of the alien ship around him, Marcus found himself thinking not about getting back to his route, but about golden eyes and silver tears, and the feeling of holding a baby who just needed to feel like he was home. In her own chambers, Queen Lorelei sat beside her child's sleeping alcove, watching the peaceful rise and fall of tiny breaths. For the first time in days, silence reigned in the royal quarters. But more than that, for the first time in years, the queen felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. The human had seen her not as a political leader or a strategic alliance opportunity, but as a mother in need. In that moment of simple compassion, he had shown her something she had been missing from her life: genuine understanding. As she finally allowed herself to rest, Queen Lorelei found herself wondering what other surprises Marcus Chen might bring to her carefully ordered world. 3 days aboard the Zephyrian flagship had changed Marcus's life in ways he never could have imagined. What started as a simple cargo run had become the most extraordinary experience of his life, and it was all because of Queen Lorelei and her baby, Prince Zalin. Marcus had learned the baby's name on the second day, when the Queen had personally shown him around the royal quarters. Prince Zalen had been sleeping peacefully in Marcus's arms at the time, having somehow become completely comfortable with the human who had first brought him peace. "He has never taken to anyone so quickly," Queen Lyralai had observed, her golden eyes warm as she watched her son's tiny fingers wrap around one of Marcus's. "Even my own advisors require days to gain his trust." Now, on the third morning, Marcus found himself in an extraordinary position. He had been invited to join the Queen for her morning meal, and Prince Zalen was once again in his arms, cooing contentedly as Marcus maintained the gentle gravitational rocking motion that had become second nature to him. The royal dining chamber was a marvel of bioluminescent architecture, with walls that seemed to pulse gently with soft blue and green light. The ceiling showed a real-time view of the stars outside, making Marcus feel as though they were dining in space itself. "Tell me about your world, Marcus," Queen Lyralai said as she gracefully managed her meal with 4 of her 6 arms, while keeping 2 free to gesture as she spoke. "What is Earth like?" Marcus had been dreading this question. How could he explain his ordinary life to someone who ruled star systems? "It's nothing special, Your Majesty, just one world among billions." "Please," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Call me Lyralai when we are alone, and I did not ask about its importance in the galaxy. I asked what it is like to you." Something in her tone made Marcus look up from the baby he was holding. The Queen was watching him intently, her alien features somehow conveying genuine curiosity and interest. "It's beautiful," Marcus said finally. "Blue oceans and green forests, cities that reach toward the sky and quiet countryside where you can see every star at night. The air smells like rain and growing things. People everywhere, all different, all trying to make their way in the universe." "And your family? Your mate?" Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. "No mate. My sister Sarah has 2 kids back home, Tommy and little Emma. I see them when my cargo routes bring me through the Sol system." "You care for them deeply," Lyralai observed. "I can hear it in your voice when you speak of them. They're good kids. Tommy reminds me a lot of Prince Zalen, actually. He was a difficult baby, too, but once you figure out what he needs—" "You have a gift with children," the Queen said. "It is not common among leaders of any species." Marcus glanced at her. "You're incredible with Prince Zalen. The way you sing to him, the way you hold him. He knows he's loved." For a moment, something vulnerable flickered across Lyralai's features. "I had feared I was failing him, when nothing I did could bring him peace. I began to doubt myself as a mother." "Never," Marcus said firmly. "Being a parent means trying everything, even when you don't know what will work. The fact that you brought in other species, that you kept trying, that's what makes you a good mother." The Queen's golden eyes shimmered. "Your words bring me comfort, Marcus Chen. More than you know." They ate in companionable silence for a while, with Prince Zalen occasionally making soft sounds that seemed almost like he was participating in the conversation. Marcus found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't expected. Despite the alien surroundings and the impossibility of the situation, this felt natural somehow. "Lyralai," Marcus said carefully, testing her name. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Where is Prince Zalen's father? I don't want to pry, but—" The Queen's expression grew distant. "Prince Zalen's father was Lord Valdris of the Northern Provinces, a political alliance marriage arranged to unite 2 rival factions. He died in a transport accident when I was still carrying Zalen." "I'm sorry," Marcus said genuinely. "That must have been incredibly difficult." "I grieved for the future we might have had," she admitted. "But if I am honest, we barely knew each other. The marriage was duty, not affection. I had always hoped that someday I might find something more. There was something in her tone that made Marcus's heart race, but he pushed the thought away. He was reading too much into things. What about you, Marcus? Have you ever found love? The question caught him off guard. I thought I had once. Her name was Jennifer. We were together for 3 years. What happened? She wanted me to quit piloting, find something more stable, more respectable. When I wouldn't give up the stars, she left. Marcus shifted Prince Zalen to his other arm, the baby stirring slightly before settling again. She said I'd rather be alone in space than build a real life with her. And was she right? Marcus considered the question seriously. I thought she was, for a long time. But now, I think maybe I was just waiting for the right person to make planet-side life worth giving up the stars for. Their eyes met across the table, and Marcus felt something electric pass between them. Lyrelai's alien features were beautiful in a way that transcended species, and her expression held a warmth that made his breath catch. Your Majesty, a voice interrupted from the chamber entrance. Both Marcus and Lyrelai turned to see Captain Thorne standing in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. What is it, Captain? Lyrelai asked, though Marcus could hear the disappointment in her voice at the interruption. The Council of Advisors requests an immediate audience. They have concerns about our guest. Marcus felt his stomach drop. I should go. I don't want to cause problems for you. No, Lyrelai said firmly, rising from her seat. You are here by my invitation and under my protection. Captain, inform the Council that they will wait until I am ready to see them. Your Majesty, Captain Thorne said hesitantly, they are quite insistent. They speak of security concerns and diplomatic complications. Lyrelai's expression hardened, and for the first time, Marcus saw the steel beneath her gentle exterior. I am their queen, Captain, not their subject. They will wait. After Captain Thorne left, looking troubled, Lyrelai turned back to Marcus. I apologize for that interruption. Maybe they have a point, Marcus said quietly. I'm just a human cargo pilot. My presence here probably does create diplomatic issues. Do you know what the Council's greatest concern likely is? Lyrelai asked, moving closer to where Marcus sat with her son. That I'm some kind of spy or threat? That I am showing favor to someone they cannot control or understand? She reached out and gently touched his face with one of her hands, her skin cool and smooth. Marcus, in the 3 days you have been here, I have felt more like myself than I have in years. Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. Lyrelai, you see me not as a queen to be flattered or a political advantage to be gained, but as a person, a mother. When was the last time someone simply sat with me and asked about my world without wanting something in return? Prince Zalen chose that moment to wake up, looking up at Marcus with large golden eyes that were miniature versions of his mother's. The baby made a soft sound that Marcus had learned meant he was content. He loves you already, Lyrelai said softly, and so do I. The words hung in the air between them, and Marcus felt the universe shift around him. This incredible, powerful, beautiful woman had just told him she loved him, and despite every logical reason why it was impossible, he knew he felt the same way. Lyrelai, Marcus began, but she placed a finger gently against his lips. I know this is complicated. I know the obstacles we face, but I also know that in 3 days, you have brought more joy and peace to my life than I have known in years. The Council won't accept this, Marcus said. I'm nobody special. You are special to me, she replied, and you are special to my son. Is that not enough? Before Marcus could answer, Prince Zalen grabbed one of his fingers with surprising strength and made what Marcus could swear was a happy sound. Looking down at the baby, then up at his incredible mother, Marcus felt his own walls crumbling. "I love you too," he said quietly. "Both of you. I don't know how it's possible or what it means, but I do." Lyra Lee's smile was radiant. "Then we will face whatever comes together." Outside the royal chambers, the ship hummed through space toward an uncertain future. The council would demand explanations. There would be political complications and difficult decisions ahead. But in that moment, holding a sleeping alien prince, while his mother looked at him with love in her golden eyes, Marcus Chen felt like the luckiest man in the galaxy. The Council of Advisors chamber aboard the Zephyrian flagship was an imposing space designed to intimidate. 7 of the most powerful Zephyrians in the kingdom sat in a semicircle, their crystalline skin gleaming under the harsh lighting, their multiple arms arranged in formal positions that Marcus had learned indicated displeasure. Marcus stood in the center of the chamber, holding Prince Zalen, who had refused to be separated from him. Queen Lyra sat on her ceremonial throne, her expression carefully neutral as she watched the proceedings. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. "Human Marcus Chen," spoke Elder Vexhai, the oldest and most conservative member of the council. His voice carried the weight of centuries. "You have spent 5 days aboard our vessel, 5 days in close contact with our queen and her heir. Tell us, what is your purpose here?" "To help, sir," Marcus replied honestly. "Your queen asked for assistance with Prince Zalen, and I was able to provide it." "Indeed," said Advisor Mordaunt, her tone dripping with suspicion. "Most convenient that a simple cargo pilot would possess such specific knowledge about Zephyrian infants. Almost as if it were planned." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest, but kept his voice level. "I have a nephew back home who had similar problems. Sometimes solutions come from unexpected places." "Or," interjected War Leader Kexthor, "you are an Earth intelligence operative sent to infiltrate our highest levels of government through deception and manipulation." Before Marcus could respond, Prince Zalen let out a sharp cry of distress. The baby had been calm all morning, but something about the aggressive tones in the chamber was upsetting him. Marcus automatically began the gentle rocking motion that soothed the prince, and within moments, the crying stopped. "Fascinating," observed Chief Scientist Yelnara. "The infant shows clear signs of stress response to emotional conflict in his environment, yet calms immediately when the human intervenes. This suggests either a remarkable natural empathy or..." "Or what?" Elder Vexhai demanded. "Or the human has somehow bonded with the child on a neurochemical level that we do not fully understand." Queen Lyra leaned forward slightly. "Explain." "Your Majesty, Zephyrian infants are naturally telepathic, though they cannot yet control the ability. They sense emotions and intentions from those around them. If Prince Zalen consistently calms in this human's presence, it suggests that the human's emotional state is naturally compatible with the infant's needs." "In other words," said Elder Vexhai coldly, "either this human is remarkably pure of heart, or he has found some way to mask his true intentions even from a telepathic infant." The implication hung heavy in the air. Marcus realized that his relationship with Prince Zalen, which had seemed like such a blessing, was now being used as evidence against him. "There is one way to resolve this matter definitively," announced Advisor Morden. "The trial of intentions." A collective gasp went up from several council members. Queen Lyra went completely still on her throne. "The trial has not been invoked in over 2 centuries, protested Elder Vexhai. "It is dangerous and archaic." "It is also our law," Morden replied firmly. "When the true intentions of someone close to the royal family are in question, they may be subjected to the trial of intentions. If the human is truly as pure-hearted as our queen believes, he will survive. If not..." "What exactly is this trial?" Marcus asked, though he was pretty sure he didn't want to know the answer. Chief Scientist Yelnara answered. It is an ancient Zephyrian ritual involving direct telepathic contact with our most powerful psychics. Every thought, every memory, every hidden intention is laid bare and examined. Most beings who are hiding something die from the psychological trauma. Even those who survive are forever changed. Marcus felt his blood run cold, but before he could speak, Queen Lorelei rose from her throne. "Absolutely not," she declared. "I will not allow Marcus to be subjected to such torture based on groundless suspicions." "Your Majesty," Elder Vexhai said formally, "with respect, this matter concerns the safety of your heir and the security of the realm. The Council has the right to demand the trial." "And I have the right to refuse," Lyralei's voice echoed through the chamber. "Do you?" Advisor Mordaunt asked quietly. "Even if it means the Council will be forced to declare you unfit to rule due to emotional compromise? Even if it means civil war?" The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus understood now that this was about more than just him. The Council saw Lyralei's feelings for him as a weakness they could exploit to gain more power. Prince Zalen stirred restlessly in his arms, sensing the emotional turmoil in the room. "I'll do it," Marcus said quietly. "Marcus, no," Lyralei protested, but he shook his head. "I'll do it," he repeated more firmly. "But I have conditions." Elder Vexhai raised an eyebrow. "You are hardly in a position to make demands, human." "Maybe not," Marcus agreed, "but I'm in a position to make a choice. You want to know my intentions? Fine. But if I survive this trial, if it proves that I'm exactly who I say I am and that I love your queen and prince for all the right reasons, then the Council acknowledges that fact publicly and stops interfering in the queen's personal life." "And if you do not survive?" War Leader Kexthor asked. Marcus looked down at Prince Zalen, then at Queen Lorelei, whose golden eyes were filled with tears. "Then you'll know you were right about me." The vote was unanimous. The trial would take place at sunset. The preparation chamber was smaller and more intimate than the council room, but somehow more frightening. Marcus lay on a biomechanical platform while Chief Scientist Yelnara attached neural interfaces to his temples. Queen Lorelei sat beside him, holding his hand with two of hers. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "We could find another way." "No," Marcus said. "This is the only way to prove that what we have is real, that I'm not some spy or manipulator. Your people need to know they can trust me." "I trust you. Isn't that enough?" Marcus squeezed her hands. "You're a queen, Lorelei. Your people have to come first, and they need to know their queen isn't being deceived." Prince Zalen was being held by a court attendant nearby, and even from there Marcus could sense the baby's distress. The child somehow knew something was wrong. 3 of the most powerful Zephyrian telepaths entered the chamber, their faces grave. Elder Telemira, the eldest, approached Marcus with something like sympathy in her ancient eyes. "Human," she said softly, "we will see everything. Every memory, every thought, every moment of shame or guilt or hidden desire. Are you certain you wish this?" Marcus thought about his life, his mistakes, his failures, his moments of weakness. Then he thought about holding Prince Zalen for the first time, about Lyralei's smile when he told her about Earth, about the feeling of rightness when they were together. "I'm certain." The telepaths joined hands around his platform and began to chant in the ancient Zephyrian language. Marcus felt a strange, tingling sensation, and then suddenly, his mind wasn't his own anymore. They saw everything, his childhood on Earth, growing up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs to keep them fed. His teenage years when he got in trouble for stealing food for his sick mother. His first heartbreak, his failures in school, his desperate decision to join the merchant marine to escape poverty. They saw his loneliness in space, the way he'd convinced himself he preferred solitude because he was afraid of being hurt again. They saw his relationship with Jennifer, how he'd used his job as an excuse to avoid real intimacy because he didn't think he was good enough for her. They saw his love for his nephew Tommy, how holding that crying baby had been the first time he'd felt truly needed by another living being. They saw his sister Sarah's disappointment when he chose another cargo run over being at Emma's birth. And then they saw his time on the Zephyrian ship. They felt his genuine wonder at Prince Zalen, his instinctive understanding of the baby's needs. They experienced his growing love for Lirelai, not her power or position, but her kindness, her strength, her vulnerability as a mother. Most importantly, they felt his complete lack of hidden agenda. No secret mission, no ulterior motives, no plans for personal gain. Just a lonely man who had found purpose in caring for a baby and love in the eyes of the baby's mother. The telepath's chant grew stronger, and Marcus felt his consciousness being pulled deeper. They were looking for deception, for buried secrets, for any sign that he was not who he claimed to be. They found none. Instead, they found something else. The moment when Marcus had first held Prince Zalen and felt the baby's distress as if it were his own. The moment when he'd looked into Lyralei's golden eyes and known he would do anything to see her smile. The moment when he'd realized he'd found his home. When the telepaths finally released him, Marcus was unconscious for nearly an hour. He awakened to find Queen Lyrelei beside him, tears streaming down her face, and Prince Zalen sleeping peacefully in her arms. "What did they find?" he asked weakly. "The truth," she replied. "All of it." The entire council was present when Elder Telmira delivered her verdict. Her ancient voice carried clearly through the chamber. "We have examined the human Marcus Chen completely, his memories, his intentions, his deepest thoughts. We find no deception, no hidden agenda, no threat to the royal family or the realm." She paused, her eyes finding Marcus in the crowd. "What we found instead was a man of uncommon integrity and capacity for love. His intentions toward Queen Lyrelei and Prince Zalen are pure, protective, and selfless. His presence in their lives brings them joy and peace." Elder Vexhai stood stiffly. "The council accepts the findings of the trial. We withdraw our objections to the human's presence." But Elder Telmira was not finished. "There is more. During our examination, we discovered something remarkable. The human's mind naturally generates the same emotional frequencies that soothe Zephyrian children. This is not a trained skill or conscious ability. It is simply who he is." Chief Scientist Yel Nara leaned forward with interest. "You mean he's naturally empathically compatible with our species?" "More than that," Elder Telmira replied. "In all our history, we have never encountered another being so perfectly suited to understand and comfort our young. Prince Zalen responds to him because Marcus Chen's mind naturally produces what we might call parental love frequency at a level we have never before measured." Queen Lirelei stood, Prince Zalen in her arms. "Then it is settled. Marcus Chen will remain with us as my personal guest and advisor." "He will help me raise Prince Zalen and learn our ways." "Your Majesty," Marcus said carefully, "are you sure? This is a huge decision that will affect your entire kingdom." Lyrelei approached him, and with her free hands, she took his face gently. "Marcus Chen, you have quieted my baby and won my heart. You have proven your worth to my people and shown them the depth of your character. Will you stay with us? Will you help me rule this kingdom and raise my son?" Marcus looked around the chamber at the assembled Zephyrians, their alien faces no longer seeming foreign to him. He thought of his lonely cargo ship and his empty apartment back on Earth. Then he looked at Prince Zalen, who was reaching for him with tiny arms, and at Lyrelei, whose golden eyes held all the love and hope in the universe. "Yes," he said simply. "I'll stay." The formal bonding ceremony took place a month later, broadcast across the entire Zephyrian sovereignty. Marcus Chen, former cargo pilot from Earth, became Prince Consort to Queen Lyralai and adoptive father to Prince Zaylin. But the most important moment came that night, in the quiet of their private chambers, when Zaylin fell asleep in Marcus's arms and Lyralai curled up beside them both. "I love you," she whispered in the darkness. "I love you too," Marcus replied, feeling Prince Zaylin's tiny hand wrapped around his finger. "Both of you. Forever." Outside their windows, the stars wheeled through space, carrying them toward a future none of them could have imagined. But inside their room, a human man, an alien queen, and a baby prince created something the universe had never seen before. A perfect family born from understanding, nurtured by love, and bound together by the simple truth that sometimes the most extraordinary things begin with the most ordinary acts of kindness. Marcus Chen had found his home among the stars after all. The real challenges, however, were just beginning. He thought, instead of worrying her as it should have, brought a smile to her lips as she drifted off to sleep.